Good morning. The air conditioner's on full blast. It's not too bad. The noise canceling hearing set really does help. It's got several microphones, so I'm pretty sure you get to hear the ambient noise. So the reason I wanted to get a coach like this was because of my hearing and the fact that in my other coach, the air conditioner was just maybe 6 feet from my head. It was inside in the room. This rig has ducted air conditioning. Now, it's not the quietest, it's not the greatest, it's not the top of the line, and it's not even in a coach maker that survived to this day. They lost it about 2008, 2009. That was it for the Beaver motorhomes. And they had been bought and sold so many times it just wasn't funny. And I can't keep straight because they tell me this is a Monaco. Now, this is when SMC owned Beaver, when Safari owned Beaver, I think. I'm not really sure, and I don't care. I just know this is a fantastic year. And no, it's not as good. It's not as good as the rig that, oh man, I should know his name by now. That the Arizona Professional, I think he's a nice guy. His rig is better than mine. I thought mine was better, but after watching his video, I realized his rig is better than mine. And that's okay. He's a really nice guy. He's in a position where he could find such a coach, to stumble on it basically. And as he said, he got it, and he's not going to be apologetic. And I had to watch that video several times before I realized the differences in that coach and in all others. So he's got a good coach. I don't like the color very much. It's kind of a golden brown, and we could call it other colors of brown, if you know what I mean, but it's all right. I mean, it's a classic, and it's in really good shape. I mean, that is in so much better shape than this coach. This coach, however, fits me better. It's got a middle entry, so it's good for the dog and for me coming in. Lorraine, quiet. You good girl. Come on up here. You can make an appearance. Yes, come on. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, yes. Got to have kisses in the morning. Oh. Okay. Okay, that's enough. That's enough. She makes me feel like a little boy. I haven't had a puppy dog wash me in the face, well, since the last monster knocked me down in the snow and about smothered me with his kisses, and I was in a snowsuit and I couldn't move, and the dog overpowered me. I was probably 3 years old or something. Let me think. My dad was in Iran at the time. He was stationed there. So I would have been a little bit older. I would have been at least four years old. Okay, and Mom told my dad, you gotta get rid of the dog. It's too much for the children. He didn't like having to do that. My dad loved dogs. Dogs loved him too, so good sign. I want to tell you what my stand is, and I've modified it in the last few hours. And I mean, I think you're following me here, and I think you're tuning in because you know that I got something going on. You know that there's something happening here, and you know that, well, I guess you find me trustworthy, pretty honest, too candid perhaps. But I've modified my standing, and this is an important modification because I've joked and said I'm all for the New World Order under Jesus Christ. That's kind of a put it in your face kind of deal, if you know what I mean. Stick it in your face. It's an act of rebellion against the old world order. I know you think that it's the New World Order that's what's in existence today, and it's debatable. I think these are the old people that have been on the planet, or I don't even want to call them people because they aren't humans, but they've been on the planet for about 70,000 years, as near as I can determine. I guess I'm going to be the reference on that, since the gentleman who proffered that is now deceased, and I don't have a doggone reference to any of his work, but his teacher, Ray Ray told me that they've been here 70,000 years, 72,000 years. I guess 50,000 years. Ray corrected me. I stand corrected. Approximately 6 Earth ages. I want a new world order I want a new Western world order. This new world order that I'm talking about, Lorraine, quiet, lay down. Down and quiet. Down. She's taking too much time and pressing my patience. And I finally put the collar back on her. These dogs love discipline, and they love it when you give them harsh commands. Why? Because they love direction, and they love attention. They want that attention. They want that relationship. It's not too different than our relationship with Yahweh. He wants our attention. And I think I want his attention. Lorraine, kennel, down. And just like a woman, my dog's female and she loves attention. That's what got Eve into trouble, most likely. That part of her nature, her normal good nature, got her into trouble. She wanted the attention of the male. She just chose the wrong species to mate with, that's all. So this is my position, and I will not be apologetic for it. I am all for a new world order, if you will, in the new Western world order. Why? Because the Khazarians have taken over pretty much the entire world, but I want to leave the East to itself because I think they've been dealing with it pretty good. I think Putin got rid of the Khazarians maybe 2 decades ago. I think so. I'm not really sure, but I kind of like to leave it up to the gentleman because I have a lot of respect for him. Most of the time when there's world leaders in a room, he's the only adult in the room. Now, my belief system was shaped by Pastor Jerry Wicke, who was reared Amish, and he was a bit rebellious for the Amish, and he ended up reading the Bible for himself, and I think he came up with the right stuff. Now, Pastor Jerry Wicke has 3 boys. I don't know if he's still alive or not. He was quite demented from what I've heard, and I was told by those who be close to him that it was best I not see him, that I would be very disturbed by it, and I wanted to remember Jerry and his strength, you know. And his sons also were a little worried about me around their father, mentioning that I didn't approve of mentioning the bioweapon, basically. And the thing is that the boys had controlled their father and their mother into taking that stuff. I don't know why they did that. I think it was his demise. That's about when the dementia began. He also was taking vitamin D, which caused a calcium imbalance. The calcium in circulation addled his brain. So that's really kind of what caused it. But we don't really know, and that's not important. What's important was Pastor Wicke's stand. And I get to tell you about it. I love the man. He wouldn't let me talk in the church. He wanted his boys dominating. That was a big problem. The sad thing is, I don't think any of his 3 sons are really carrying on his work, his message. Certainly not his demeanor. Jerry Wicke was a gentleman, maybe too much of a gentle man. He was Amish, and the Amish raised their daughters a little bit too loosely. Let's put it that way. They can do whatever they want. They only discipline sons. It's kind of weird if you ask me. So it was with Pastor Jerry Wicke and his family. But the boys turned out pretty good. Sadly, the oldest one hung around a couple of rabbis that I think were bad influences on him. Really bad. And the middle one decided he wanted to dominate in debate. And so it was about impossible to talk with him because he had to do a one-upmanship on everybody. And then the youngest son, well, he actually had a sense of humor that wouldn't quit, and I liked him a lot. I wish that he had not gotten tore up in Iraq, or was it Afghanistan? Well, he got his shoulder tore up, and he didn't get the medical attention he needed because he was needed there. So he made the sacrifice. So that's one man, a young man who sacrificed for his nation. He really should have gone to get the shoulder fixed and then gone back out to the front. This commanding officer really needed him. It's good to be needed. It's good to be wanted. Me, I'm neither needed nor am I wanted. So I'm by myself. As Pastor Jerry Wicke basically let me know what was going to happen. And that's okay. The message I got from Yahweh was, I'm not going to conform to you. You're going to conform to me. I don't like that position very much. So Yahweh is pretty much in charge. Now here's the deal. I got upset with the Jews. Pastor Jerry Wicke never ceased correcting me. He always corrected me and always gently and gingerly reminded me that Revelations 2:9 and 3:9 says, I know those who say. In other words, he's talking about a different group, a group of liars that claims to be the Jews. So you have to separate them out. That's right, it's a separate group. It's not the Jews in the mainstream, not at all. Now, why did I have problems? I had problems because I had a really bad experience, probably the worst experience of my life in Winthrop, Massachusetts. I was in 9th grade. My father worked at Boston Army Base, and we got this housing, and he sold the house that he had bought for, I don't know what he bought it for, but he sold it for quite a bit of a profit. At least back then it was quite a bit of a profit. Money had much more value. The silver dollar, the dollar was still good for getting traded in for $1 of silver, or 10 times of silver. We're a far cry from that today. But we went to Winthrop, had a, I don't know if you call it 3 or 4 story house, old house on a hill on the old military base, fenced in, big grounds, beautiful house. I guess it hadn't been occupied in a long time, and we were tasked with taking care of the grounds. So I didn't like it much, but we were out there weeding and pulling and getting the leaves and everything else out from around the fence, policing the property. My dad always loved sending us kids out to police the property. So we did that, and I didn't like it very much, but yeah, we did it as a family. I mean, we were on our hands and knees, we were pulling weeds, grabbing stuff out and all that. I mean, dead leaves, raking those out from the shrubs, mowing the lawn. And this was actually fine property at one point in time. But Winthrop was unfortunately, and still is, pretty much at the, Winthrop is the Boston runway. I mean, the planes just come right over. I mean, you're right at the end of the runway, and they're barely up in the air, lifting off. So we were getting hammered all day long by the jets, and there was no way out of that. I'd feel sorry for the locals, except I was feeling sorry for myself, because you can't think when those things are going over. Even in school, they interrupted school, everything. The jets, man. And it's out in a little peninsula of land. And I had a bad time because it was a predominantly Jewish community. There were 4 synagogues. 4. Got it? There were 2 Catholic churches. There was no Protestant church. None. Instead, one of the Catholic church rented the space to the Protestant group. So that's where we went to church. It was interesting, to say the least. But the worst part was the way I was treated. I was treated terribly by my teachers, Jewish, and terribly by my fellow students, Jewish. So I had a problem. And at the time, I went into the school there. I was a straight A student. Well, okay, so the scale wasn't as good. It wasn't as tough. I admit that. But when I got there in Winthrop, they decided that their grades were cumulative. And even though I was doing A work, the most they could give me was a C because my grades would not transfer. So they dropped my grade point average down purposely to reduce my future. And they required me to take biology, they required me to take French, and I did my best to get enrolled in Latin. They refused. I was in just the grade level. They had like an alphabetical tier system, and I was in just the level below the ones that got to go to Latin. They didn't want me to go to medical school or law school. They didn't want me to have a future. They didn't want me competing against their children. And their children were pretty rough with me on the way to and from school. When they are a majority, they're no fun to be around. And my mother went into the school to see about my brother and my sister. And I doubt they'll remember this, but I remember it. Because I was struggling in that system, and I was getting spit on all the time. I was getting picked on, teased. The girls would taunt me and tease me, load me down with books, take advantage of me. And I had a girlfriend that I really liked, but she could never admit to the relationship. Why? Because she was Jewish. We'd talk for hours on the phone. We were both, I don't know, we just got along real good. I don't know if we were both lonely or both a little counterculture, or I don't know. I mean, we got along real good. But she wasn't going to do anything off the phone with me. We tied it up for hours. We had a landline back there, so that wasn't appreciated. But that was my girlfriend. That was the only relief I got, because my parents, my family, was not good for me. I did my homework, usually on the rug in front of the couch, not too far from the television set. That damn one-eyed man that never went off. It was always on mainstream, lamestream public education and brainwashing. So I studied right there, and I had to tune everything out, zone it all out so I could focus on my books. They treated me horribly, so that's why I've had a bad attitude. And I didn't tell you the rest. The schools wanted to hold my brother and my sister back a year. They were very destructive. They wanted to destroy the Gentiles, the Gentile family. And my mother argued with them about that. She didn't want her daughter held back. Now, my sister was pretty good. I mean, she had the language skills, just like a female child would develop language skills ahead of a male child. And she wasn't that dumb. She was pretty shrewd and very manipulative, to be honest with you. She was not a nice person. And my brother, he didn't know how to read, and we didn't know it at the time. I don't think they held him back. I don't think my mother would allow it. But they wanted to do as much damage and destruction to the Protestants as they could. So I want you to understand my bias. It's because they wounded the crap out of me. Now, they railroaded me as best they could. And it did affect my ability to get in graduate schools later on because my GPA was low, and I graduated very low in my class in high school because of their crap. Anyway, the good thing about Winthrop was I got to learn about their nature and character. And I had a couple of Jewish friends, and we hung out together, but we were all kind of outcasts, if you will. And I also met one of the cutest girls in my life, Lilo, and took her to the prom. Was afraid to kiss her. Wanted to. I don't know. She was all ready for it, and me, I was like, I'm sorry, man. I want to be aware of the puns I could make right now, but let's put it this way. I was afraid. She was a petite, blue-eyed blonde, and she was just beautiful. Very, very beautiful. Anyway, the kind of beauty that makes me tongue-tied. They wanted me to take the biology entrance examination for college. I really didn't want to do it, but they forced me to do it. I had only been there since Christmas time, and here it is, January or February, and they're demanding that I sit for the entrance examination. I guess they figured that their students would do better than I would and show me up, and they wanted something to compare to and show their students off who had been in biology all year long. And I arrived late for biology. That's right. I only had a few weeks of biology. So I went home with a biology text, and I sat there and I read it. And I ended up on the steps of MIT. At this point, I guess it was the old MIT, because the steps were so damn tall, I had to walk at an angle to get up them. Well, I was pretty small, so I had to walk at an angle to get up those granite steps up into MIT. I remember that. And it was pretty impressive when you walked into that old building with the old architecture. And I took the exam. And my teachers were dismayed because my scores were so high, and their student scores weren't so high, and they couldn't account for it. And it was because of that subject examination with the outrageously high score that I was able to get into graduate school, able to get into college, because later my ACTs weren't so good. But when they saw that subject score, that was like, whoa, there's something here. I was coasting in school prior to Winthrop. It was easy for me. It was a waste of time. Felt like prison. Let me go do something that's fun, man. Stop wasting my time with this stupid bullshit here. I didn't like the students all that much. It wasn't enjoyable. The idea of socialization to me was caca. That's right. I mean, it was nothing but bully city. And the girls, I'm not even going to go there. So they forced me to discipline myself. Okay, fine. But I want you to understand my bias. At this point, I have to realize and recognize you can't paint the Jews with one broad stroke. Not at all. And you shouldn't do it. And there's two lightning rods for the New World Order people, the elites, to hide behind. One of those is the Jews. They love to have everybody blame it on the Jews. And the other is the Rothschild family, so that the others get to stay hidden, while these lightning rods take the hit. They take the hits and get the attention. So what I'm getting at is that we have a problem, and that is we've been taken over by the Jews, so it appears. But those are not Jews. Most of those individuals, if you look at them carefully, are atheistic. They don't even believe in any of that, anything. They're atheistic. So what can you say about them? They don't practice their faith either. They claim it to have special privileges. They claim it for a defense and something to hide behind. But that's the problem. All these years, the Israelis have been accusing the terrorists of hiding behind women and children. And what do the Jews do? Or what do the non-Jews who are among the Jews do? They hide behind them as well. It's the same stuff. They might even be more chicken shit than the others. So that's not quite where I stand. But I need you to clarify that, because I want you to understand that in the Bible, it says clearly in the major prophet, and this is unfulfilled prophecy, that we in the house of Israel are going to walk arm in arm with those from the house of Judah back to the promised land. And that it's going to be hard to find an inhabitant of the house of a descendant of the house of Judah. And so when we Israelites discover them, we're going to be joyed. We're going to be happy. And we're going to all march back to the promised land. Here's the problem with that. If you take it literally, there's not enough room down there for all of us right now. The problem is, for us to all fit in there, we're going to have to be reduced in number. So I have to tell you this, or ask you this. Is that the promised land? Is that still the promised land? You read the Bible carefully, you find out it is not. That's not to say that we won't be going back there someday. That's not to say that the cedars might not grow in Lebanon again grandly. That's not to say a lot of things. Jerry Wicke was of the opinion that when Eve had sinned, Yahweh took his son Adam aside and had a talk with him and offered him a new wife. Son, this one's spoiled. I got to get you a new wife. And what Pastor Jerry Wicke suspected is that Adam declined. And Adam told his father, I love her too much to live without her. And Yahweh told Adam, his son, okay, I'll make a way back for you. It's not going to be easy. And that's why the Messiah came back, was for a way back to the garden. He said it wasn't going to be easy, and that's what we're going through. And Zionist Christians are intent upon it has to get worse. Oh yeah, I know, I was there. I did that. I thought that way. Oh yeah, it's got to be worse before it gets better. Which is fatalistic and falls right into the trap of the false Jews. Let me say that right, the fake Jews, not the real ones. And so Adam took on the nature that Eve had inherited when she sinned. So Adam transitioned from being an immortal to being mortal. That's all there was to it. Adam was going to die. He lasted a long time, a lot longer than you or I last, his life was quite long, and he had children, many children. But we only know about a couple of them written in the Bible. What it was that Yahweh decided to have a family. This is from Pastor Cherry Wiki. And he decided to have a family upon the earth. And so he placed his son here, placed him here. In the book of Job it says placed him. Gave him dominion. And apparently we lost, or we wouldn't be here today. Now, it's my belief that we get that back, and that is the new Western world order. Yes, I'm limiting it a little bit because the Orient is not going to accept it. It's really not for them, but we're supposed to protect them. We're supposed to run this place for the benefit of all species upon it. It's a tall order. But we are capable of doing that. However, before we get there, we have to defeat the enemy. We are capable of doing that. And we alone are capable of doing that. And the enemy knows that. That's why he's targeted us so hard to reduce our numbers from a peak of 30% of the world's population in 1933 to where we are down to 3% right now. That's all that's left. So how long are Caucasoids, Caucasians, going to sit on their asses until you're genocided completely? You have to act. And unfortunately, we're in such low positions, we cannot act with impunity. We cannot just exercise brute strength. We have to take this thing apart brick by brick. They built it brick by brick over many, many, many years. We have to take it apart a little bit faster than that, but we have to go slowly because they're sitting in the positions of power. They can nuke our asses or do whatever they want to us at any time. The problem is they know their time is up, and they're worried, and they're trying to figure out how to transition, how they can survive. We're facing the same thing. And I believe that great mysteries have been revealed to me, and one of those is that we can actually overcome the judgment that's been set up for us. That's right. I don't think the evil ones realize that. But I think that we have more control over our destiny than what they realize. But right now they're in charge. They're in control. This history of the Jews in England and banking indicates to me that the biggest problem was usury, and that's how they've stolen everything, and that's what's going on today is usury. We're allowing it to continue, and if we allow it to continue, they're going to have so much power. They're actually going to genocide us. They're genocide us. That's what they do. They genocided the Jews in Germany, a small group of Jews, real Jews. The irony is that the fake Jews were running the camps. They also genocided 400,000 men, women, and children in Dresden. That was the big Holocaust. Firebombed the place for a week. Churchill's idea. He really hated them. He really hated the Germans and wanted to destroy them. Churchill was an Edomite. You need to understand that. And then you had the Holodomor. They genocided the people in the Ukraine. Not once, but twice they did that to the Ukraine. And that was caused from New York and from the stock exchange people making sure they didn't have any food going there, redirecting food products elsewhere on the planet. That's right, Manhattan. First we take Manhattan, then we take Berlin, and then something or other can begin. They tell you about what's coming in advance. In that song, he told you. So when I say I'm all for a new world order under Jesus Christ, I'm actually for a new Western world order, because it's the West that's been targeted by the Khazarians for sheer and utter destruction. Do you understand that? They want to destroy us. They don't want to just rule over you. They're going to destroy you. They're going to lock your asses down. They're going to cut you off from everybody else. They're going to control the news, and they're going to go and eradicate us section by section. And their goal is to drop us down to 5%, to kill 95% of us, not whatever it is in the Georgia Guidestones. They want to go even further than that. They are not sane people, but they aren't people, okay? They don't think like you or I do. They've actually got bigger brains than we have. They've got 25% more brain volume. They have a different bone structure in their head. They've got two parietal lobes, two parietal bones. No, we have two parietal lobes, two parietal bones with sutures between those, right? They only have one. That's right. And they've interbred with us. So you have hybrids running around, and those are almost all loyal to the evil ones. So I think that we unite the United States of America for our very survival. That's what's at stake right now. So if you can't figure out that you need to form militias, then it's over with. That's the bottom line. If you're not willing to police yourselves and form well-organized militias, we're not talking about vigilante law at all. The militia will take people into custody and either present them to the judge or to the sheriff for keeping in jail until they can go before the judge. That's it. However, the militia is designed to quell insurrections, and we're going to have those real ones, not this fake one. Nancy Pelosi did it. It was a real one. If you look at Nancy, it was real. Did Ashley Babbitt get killed? No, I don't think so. I think it was all an act. I think a lot of these horrible things that we hear about and see are all fabrications. So that alternative media you think you're steeped in on the internet, that they're not playing in the mainstream media, a lot of that's faked to get you aroused and get you to kill. That's what they want you to do. They want you to violate your own spirit, your own soul, so that you don't have a chance to go to heaven. But there's different levels of heaven. We got the one here in the Garden of Eden, which we are required to declare. I've done this a while back. The kingdom of heaven upon the earth. I don't think anybody heard me. So like a tree falling in the woods, nobody heard me. We have to declare and secure heaven upon the earth. It will be under Yahweh's laws. Now, how far do we go with it? We have to go pretty far with it. But I think we go as far as borders. Each state border. Maybe even counties have different laws too. But the states have to have separate laws from each other. Why? Because you can't have a republic without having independent republic states that are not corporations to authorize the central government. So you haven't had a republic in, 90 years, almost 100 years. With the 17th Amendment, your republic was gone. It died completely. Which is why I say we repeal all of those amendments. Actually, they're null and void. We don't have to repeal them. We just have to declare the original 13th Amendment and then declare the others null and void because they're out of order. That's Eustace Mullins' idea, not mine. So my take on this is that we need to establish the kingdom of heaven upon the earth. That's right. It's not going to be instant. It's not going to be a beam me up Scotty, and it's not going to be out in the Netherlands, up in the ether somewhere, up in space. A lot of that Bible has been inverted. A lot of it is encoded. And I think I understand it, but I don't know that I understand that. I've got to travel and talk with my brothers across the country to see if my thinking is right before I even utter it to you. Before I can share it with you, I've got to pass the muster before them. See, that's my militia. That's what I have, is I've got my friends who will correct me if I am wrong. I want to get out there and take care of that. So I want you to understand, Yahweh had a family upon the earth. Adam was his son. Eve was his daughter. And what happened is that the evil one decided he wanted to be like God. So he wanted what God owned. And he figured that what he would do would be marry God's daughter, marry Yahweh's daughter, and then Yahweh would have to accept him as his own son. That's what Jerry Wicke said. And it holds water. When you read the Bible and you see that in the early days, that's what the thinking of the Canaanites was. Let's intermarry with them, and then we will own everything that they have. That's what the people of the land, the Canaanites, said. Let's intermarry with them. And of course, Judah and Levi weren't too keen upon them forcing themselves upon their sister and raping her. And of course, the guy who did it was trying to make up for it by having his son buy the sister for a wife. And Judah went along with it. Judah was really a big guy. He's a very powerful man. And Levi was pretty much a zealot. And he had a lot of power in that. And the two of them went into that village and they cut it up to avenge what had happened to their sister, the rape of their sister. I suggest you read the Bible and read that again. I'll do my best to follow my advice. I'm not very good at it. I told you I'm a hypocrite, and I love being a hypocrite. But I'm only joking when I say that because I laugh at myself. We have to laugh at ourselves. We have to. It's the only way sometimes to just plain cope. My God, I screwed up again. What? I'm doing that? I just accused so-and-so of doing that to somebody else, and I'm doing it myself? That's usually the position I catch myself in when I have the awareness. So when we lack awareness, and we're in a state of sin, we have no idea about the wrongs we've done and how much better we could have been. We have no idea as to the good stuff we would have had if we'd have made the right choice. You see, it really is the law of life. and you really do get blessings. There really are, I hate to say dispensations because I don't believe in dispensationalism, but there really are blessings for obedience. And if you want to know what the curses are, just look at the United States of America today, because we got every curse going on right now. We are living it. Don't you think that proves that we are the people, the original Israelites? I think it's proof. If you think I'm wrong, let me know. There's comments, they're wide open. So I wanted to clarify that I'm all for a new world order, and that is the kingdom of heaven. I think we limit it to the Western population, which is what's targeted right now and been separated from the rest of the world. And we just focus on Western civilization and reestablishing it there, because the Khazarians have mislabeled us, misidentified us as Ammonites. I believe that's the right name. And they're saying that we are their enemy forever. Heck, they aren't even Israelites. We're Israelites, and yet here they're calling us what we're not. They've done that identity theft for thousands of years. We can't let them do that any longer. So join with me in taking a stand, reestablishing our government the way our founders had it. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. Besides that, we're not going to be able to agree on anything else. That's the only thing we can be unified upon. That and the Bible. That's it. But the Bible isn't for everybody in the world. It's not for the Chinese. It's not for the Muslims. But we aren't going to hold it from them. If they want to read it, that's fine. If they want to abide by it, that's even better. But we can't force that on them. So we have to have good boundaries. Good boundaries make good neighbors. So let the Muslims be in their nations and stop trying to convert them. I don't want any of those Islamic buildings on my territory, though. That's where I draw the line. I do not want your religious institution on my land, inside my borders. Period. Meet at your homes, meet in small groups, but you're not going to have no doggone political movements and machinations inside my borders, especially when it's probably the CIA that's behind it and the FBI helping to force that stuff on us. And the Khazarians forcing all that diversity upon us with people who are incompatible, who will never do well in our society. That's bad for those people. I mean, that's not just a problem for us. That's extremely disrespectful to those individuals. We need to let them live their ways in their own lands. We need to stop trying to convert them all. They aren't members of the family. If they want to become members of the family, that's a different thing. And if you're thinking you're going to stop them, well, remember, we're supposed to bless them all. We're supposed to be a blessing to them. How are we going to be a blessing if we say, no, you can't read that Bible. It's not for you. Put that thing down. You're not allowed to touch that. No, folks, we got to open up. We have to let them also enjoy the law of life. Because don't we want them playing by good rules, being good neighbors? I hope I've explained my position adequately to you. I hope it's not been disrespectful. I've tried to explain it to you, and I've modified it specifically because I realize that Yahweh loves his entire creation. And he said 10 times he made something and it was good. It was all good. He loves it the way he made it. He didn't want us becoming co-creators, disturbing the order that he had presented us with. But yet we've done that. We've done that. We violated the commandment, thou shalt not commit adultery. I can't lie about it. That's part of the meaning of it too. It's not just about not being faithful to your wife and spouse. It's about not being faithful to your God and to your kind and to your kindred. Yahweh loves all these people the way He made them, man. That's all there is to it. Why would He not? In case you're wondering, yeah, Caucasians come from another planet, so we're invaders. The blacks come from another planet too. Where do they come from? Those little tribes in Africa will tell you where they come from. You may think they're unsophisticated and they don't know anything, and they don't have much of anything. But if you ask those tribes, they'll describe the solar system they come from. Now, how do they know that? They know it. That's all there is to it. They had two suns. They came from a system that had two suns. And of course, they were brought here by the evil ones, with whom they still have relationships today and don't realize the historical significance of those. Let's have relationships with Yahweh. The significance of that is we get to survive and even thrive. Without that, we are going to disappear from the face of the earth. You read Jeremiah, you realize that once his laws are no longer adhered to, we cease being a people forever. The law was made for us. Doesn't mean we can't share it. It has helped others all the way around the planet. Even the Navajo have integrated Jesus into their ceremonies. May Yahweh bless